Hi, my name is Ryan Chawanski, and I'm here with Emily Burden. Burden with a special series. Did I say it right?
Yeah, you did. I'm just emphasizing Burden.
Yeah, Emily
I know it's
Burden.
With two Emilys
There's two
in the
Emilys.
race.
It's a special election and a special series here on the Bluffton Buzz. So we did town council and mayoral interviews a couple months ago, and there was another seat that opened up. So we have Emily Burden, and then we have Emily Mayer, who are both running for this one seat. Thank you for joining me on this chilly morning.
Thank you for doing this. I think it's great that you've started this, and important for people out there to get to know who's running for these elected offices.
For sure. I got great feedback from a lot of folks that I ran into. I even ran into the mayor at the little taco truck over by Sherman-Williams, and she's like, it's so great that you did that. And I think just letting people know who everybody is really important, right? Everybody should be informed before they go and just don't pick a name they like, because you don't know who you're getting. That's how I think, so I want to help other people. So Emily, you're a mother of four?
Mother of four.
You are a co-owner of Gigi's with your sister,
Yes.
which is a clothing boutique right down the street here. We're at Church of the Cross, May River, Calhoun Street. Absolutely beautiful. It's chilly, but it's nice.
I know, I have my hand warmers, so if y'all see me grab them, I'm a baby when it comes to this weather.
You're good. We're gonna make it quick.
Okay.
All right. So no surprise here. If you saw any of the other interviews, it's gonna be the same questions, which is a little bit of a gimme for both you and the other Emily here, but gave you a little time to prepare. You know what I'm gonna ask, so like I said, we'll make this pretty quick. So let's start from the beginning. Where are you originally from?
Bluffton.
Bluffton.
I'm originally born and raised here. Back when, we had one grocery store, a few restaurants, and one elementary school, and then we went to school in Hilton Head for middle school and high school because we didn't have any public or private schools back here then. So sat in traffic every day getting to Hilton Head.
So no matter what, it's always been traffic to Hilton Head.
I mean, it really has.
Okay, it's fair.
It's
At least it
true.
hasn't been like
Really
Bluffton blew up and that's been traffic. No.
I remember, 30 years ago sitting in the traffic headed to Hilton Head. And
yeah.
You still do it.
Still do it. Hey, real quick. I don't think this has anything to do with the town, but that bridge, do you think the bridge is going to help?
I mean, it's got to help. Yeah.
It's more lanes, right?
It's more lanes. I can't see how it wouldn't. It's going to be painful in the process.
Yeah. So what I asked other folks was, what stood out to you and why you came to Bluffton. You were born and raised here. So we're here at the Church of the Cross for a reason. I'm assuming this is like what really stands out to you about Bluffton. Is this?
Well, I think there's so much that stands out to me about Bluffton. A lot of it growing up here, I probably didn't realize truly how special it was until I left. Went to college at Charleston and then lived in Colorado for 6 years. And my husband is from Hilton Head. And we chose to move back here in 2010 because we really, really missed the area. We love Bluffton. We knew that this was where we wanted to raise our kids and live the rest of our life without a doubt, just because of how much we love this town and the community. I picked the Church of the Cross as our spot because obviously this is such an iconic structure and building in Bluffton. It was built in the mid-1800s, survived the Civil War when a lot of things were burnt down in our town. But for me, it just represents a lot. First of all, this is where my parents were married back in the late 70s.
Cool.
It's where my husband and I were married. I grew up in this church, went to church, every Sunday, but more than that. And so for me, faith is the most important thing in my life. And so it's one of the reasons I picked the church, was just because my faith and my relationship with Jesus Christ is so important to me, and it really is the foundation for everything that I do. The second reason I picked the church is because it also just, to me, reminds me how much of this town is about family and community. I remember so much of my childhood, having community dinners here, or we used to do things on Thanksgiving, like we would cook for people who needed food in the parish hall over there, and then either invite whoever wanted to come sit down and eat with us in the parish hall, or take it and deliver it to them.
Okay.
So it really was just about community, which is something that I want to help preserve about our town. Even though it has grown so much, I want it to stay where it feels like a small town, and to me it's just about the people and the relationships.
On that note, as we are a growing town, and I don't see it slowing down any, what are some key elements of Bluffton as a community that you think we should preserve for Bluffton that makes it special?
I think there's so much about it that I'd like to help preserve. Our quality of life, to me, is one of the reasons I know that we wanted to stay here, and a reason why I hear so many people moving here. So quality of life encompasses a lot of things. It encompasses traffic and river quality, our parks. So there's so much in that, but I really want to maintain our quality of life. And then just, to me, also just the communities. And I think the people make that up. And we as Bluffton residents, like, I want, we are one town. I think I keep hearing, old Bluffton and new Bluffton, and it's not old Bluffton and new Bluffton. We're one Bluffton,
Yeah.
one town, and it was always, growing up, our neighbors and our friends, our teachers were like family to us. And I want that to stay that way.
Yeah. The tight-knit community.
It really is.
Yeah.
It always has been. And I think that it can maintain that.
For sure. So, as you know, I've reached out to folks before the previous cycle of elections and said, hey, what are your concerns? What matter to you? And a lot of them boiled down to, I believe, the same 5 things. So the first question that came up was conflicts of interest. Do you feel, and you're a business owner, and you're looking to get a political, or I guess not a political seat, but a town council seat.
An elected seat.
Elected seat, thank
I'm
you.
not saying political seat, because I keep telling people I am not a politician. This
Yeah.
is not, I call it elected seat. That's what I'm saying.
So I'll put you in the hot elected seat here.
Okay.
Do you feel like it is a conflict of interest for you to be working and representing the folks of the town and having a business? Do you feel like there's any conflict of interest?
I mean, in my situation, I don't. I can say that anytime I'm not in my store working or selling, how about I put it this way? I can be more financially profitable if I was in the store working and selling.
Yeah.
The different meetings that will come with this elected seat will take me away from that a little bit. Thankfully, I have amazing people that work at the store where the store will be fine. But for me, I don't see it as a conflict of interest. There could be different professions where it might be, but I think that's where the people need to go out and vote and be heard, and let their voice be heard by their vote.
Okay.
And as if they think there is a conflict of interest in anybody or not.
Okay. Term limits. Do you feel that, let's say you were here for 20 years, possibly you might be performing self-serving interests? There are other folks that have maybe been on the town council for a while. Do you feel like that is fair? Do you feel like there should be a limit to the terms? If you can only do so much in so much time, after that, it's time to give up the seat? What are your thoughts?
On this one, I really would lean on the voters' opinion. I think the town did a survey a couple years ago, and they'll do one again. And I think that the voters need to be heard on this. If they think there should be term limits or increased council representation, then I think that they need to fill out the survey when the town does it and speak up and hear that. I do think that every 2 years when they go back and vote for town council seats, or mayor every 4 years, that they should, again, get out and vote and let their voice be heard. I think that's, how, if somebody feels that someone's been there too long, I think it would be obvious, and that person would probably not get elected. But I really think the survey, I love the idea when they did do the survey. I think that's an important way to just really hear from the residents of the town.
When I talked to now Mayor Larry Toomer, I had mentioned something to him about, I forget how the conversation went exactly, but it was something about like voices being heard, and also our community being able to be more privy to some of the meetings through the use of social media. Do you, what I know this wasn't really a question in the last videos, but it touches on what you just said. Do you feel like there's a way, no different than how we're doing this here, we could get folks more involved with the town besides just voting?
I absolutely do. I mean, I know that I've had a hard time maybe attending all the meetings in person in the past. I do jump online and watch a lot of them. And so I think that they're not necessarily on Facebook or social media anymore, even though I think that that's something that towns should look at again, just because it seems like an easy spot where people can go there quickly and jump on.
Yeah.
But I'm able to find all the meetings. And so, but another one, I know they started these town halls in the different parts of town. I think that was great. I hope to see that continue and maybe even expand. And then also, we have a lot of different committees in the town that I think residents, if they are interested in and getting involved, themselves should reach out and try to apply to be on some of them.
Yeah.
Let their voice be heard.
Where are those publicized, those committees, when you could get on them?
They're all, you can get, well, right now there's a spot opened up, I think, on 2 specific committees recently that they're looking to fill, but typically every summer.
Okay.
But all that information's on the town's website. The town actually, their website, if you get on there and play, you can actually find a lot of information.
Okay.
But it does mention all the committees, who's on it, when their meetings are, past meeting minutes. And so I think that it's easy to find that information on their website.
Cool. Thank you for knowing that.
Absolutely.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
You're good.
You told
Put me on the spot. This is what it's about.
I was
so
like,
put me
I
on the
would
spot.
like that answer because I don't know. So on to infrastructure. There's a lot to unpack on this one. The town's growing super fast, as we've already talked about. You know, we don't see the need for new homes slowing down. So we have land issues, we have infrastructure issues with traffic, which we talked about, the bridge. Again, I don't know if that's considered Bluffton or not. But we have schools are all maxed out, labor shortage. We talked about that right before we fired up recording. Typical for a growing town, but things we're going through. So I want to start with housing and the definition of affordable housing. Affordable housing is housing that a household can pay for while still having money left over for other necessities like food, transportation, and healthcare. That means what's considered affordable depends on that household's income. The federal government typically defines housing as affordable when it consumes no more than 30% of a household's income. With that said, with the current high interest rates and high inflation and the high demand and low supply for our area, is affordable housing possible by definition in our area?
You know, affordable housing is obviously a difficult issue, and it's one that not only is our town dealing with, certainly Hilton Head is dealing with regionally, state, and I would say nationwide. We do have an affordable housing committee. I know that they have been working hard for a number of years to try to come up with solutions on this. I've spoken with numerous of the members on that committee about what they've been working on and what they're hoping to. I've also spoken with some private developers who have a couple projects that are have been in the works and are going to break ground hopefully soon. I think it's important for us to have affordable or workforce housing. I think it's very important to me that our teachers, that our nurses, that our policemen, people that are essential to our community can afford to live here.
Yeah.
But this is definitely not a new issue. I mean, I remember growing up here, so much of our hourly workers, they would drive back then from Estill and Allendale and Hampton.
Okay.
And they're still doing it. And I think that for some of them that drive that far, it's a generational, like it's just what their families have always done. And so it's not a new issue. Do I think it's possible to fix? I think it's not something that there's a quick solution, but I think that there are steps that we can take to make to give options and to make it better.
Yeah. So, and that's interesting you said that, you know, being that you're from this area and you just kind of said has always come from different areas, because as I've done these interviews, everybody's educated me in different ways. Like I'm over here talking about not necessarily like the government or a Section 8 or a true low income affordable housing. You know, when I moved here in 19 and affordable housing was over Cypress Ridge, and it was like you could get in at $230. And when I started renting in there, I saw the guys changing the signs twice where the prices kept going up and then they had to take the affordable housing part down. So that's a different type of affordable housing, right? I do feel like we need all of those supporting characters. Something I just learned from you was maybe that's just not how this area was ever meant to be, for everybody to be in the same zip code or town.
I think, you know, I don't know, speaking of some of these families that have driven in and their you know, their moms and grandmothers have, I mean, I don't know why. You know, I think that somewhat they might have where they live, like communities, right? All their family lives around them and things like that. But it's for whatever reason, what's happened for a long time. But I do think that, you know, if you look back when some of these newer neighborhoods started, I mean, they were in the 100s, and even in the recession. I mean, you could easily buy some homes in the 180s, 170s. but right now with where we are, whether it be locally, but I think just nationally, like that's not what we have available at the moment.
Yeah, folks have come. A lot of people came from the north, moved here. A lot of people have maybe a small town, but it has all these different income segments in one town. And people come here, just kind of what I'm noticing over time is they want to turn Bluffton, the town they moved to for a reason, almost into their town they left for a reason. And sometimes, I don't want to use the word pipe dream. Sometimes I have a lack of words, but maybe that's just not something that's going to happen here in Bluffton anytime soon. You know, trying to pack everybody in. Like you said, it takes a little while, right?
I mean, this affordable housing is definitely not going to be, or workforce housing, however you want to phrase it. I think it's going to just, people are working towards it. I think working with the town, working with these private developers, working with some nonprofits, and just moving in the right direction is very important. But no, going back to what you were just saying, people moving here, I always like to tell people, just remember why you moved here.
Yeah.
Remember why you moved here. Because it was for a reason.
Absolutely.
But I hope that with affordable housing, we can come up with solutions. But I'm not going to sit here and say it's going to be easy.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's always interesting to, and I'll speak on this, you don't have to reply, but it's always interesting to be on Facebook and see what people are saying and just be like, well, why did you move here?
Yeah.
The whole idea is this is new and different than where we came from. That's just me, though. On to the roads.
Another fun topic.
Another fun topic. Look, it's very busy around here. A lot of people moving here, and I always use the example of, like, you know, I've driven all over the country. I used to live in South Florida, where you have people from South America, right? Miami drivers are just crazy, I'll just say it. And then you have people from the Northeast, right? And everybody jams together, very similar to here, right? You have locals, you have people from the Northeast, you have people from South America, Central America. Everybody moves here and has their own driving style, and there's increased traffic accidents. Roads are really gummed up a lot. You have one accident on the road, like May River Road, can get backed up for miles, right? Mm-hmm. What I've also learned through these interviews is a lot of this doesn't fall on the town, it falls on the county.
It does.
But what are your thoughts on just how we could help with the road infrastructure as a town?
So as you mentioned, the traffic is difficult because the roads, most of them are owned by the county and some by the state. The town owns very few roads, which makes it tricky. But I do think having a good relationship and partnership with county and state officials is going to be key on this, really working together, riding around with them, talking about some short-term common sense solutions like speed limits and traffic, the timing of the traffic lights and some things like that, that really does not cost any money.
For sure.
That I think short-term could help us. And I personally would love to see more patrolling because I think that, like you said, this is a melting pot. People do drive differently. Like people from here probably drive a little bit slower than most, and some people that come from somewhere else that drives faster might get annoyed, you know, with that part of it. And so I think that having more patrol could help possibly just with the accidents and the reckless driving, you know, running stoplights, things like that. I know my oldest has her permit and about to have her license, and the thought of her being on the roads right now, like I'm not excited. I'm happy to continue driving her. Because it's just a little bit scary out there.
Absolutely.
But it is a tricky, but to me, I'm all about working with who can help fix this problem. You know, there will be, or most likely, be a penny sales tax on the ballot this November for future roadways. That, again, is not going to be something that's going to happen. Like building roads is going to take a while between the planning and then the building of it. But I think it's important. You know, we had one a number of years ago, a penny sales tax that was able to let us widen 278 to 3-lane versus back then it was 2, build and take 278 all the way to exit 8 that wasn't there before, build the parkway. And it's like, if we look back 20 years and we didn't have those things now, I can't even imagine how much worse our traffic situation would be. And so
crazy. I
think we need to, you know, think ahead with, try to, even though it's bad now, but to work on the roads, obviously, long term.
That's a good way to look at it. And what you just said about 278 alone, that was like 3 facts I never knew.
Oh,
I didn't know it didn't connect to 95.
and
You know, it didn't have.
we went to exit
3
5
lanes.
back then,
Wow.
or drove up 462 to exit 28. But a lot of people know that now because of our phones.
I've seen like pictures, cool pictures of like, or I've been told stories too, where it was just a dirt road at one point, or it was a single lane road, and
I don't know if I
yeah.
was born then.
No, those old.
I might have
history.
come a little bit after
Yeah,
that.
no, I know. That's just it's interesting. You know, you hear every
Oh,
little bit of
absolutely.
history and how it's grown, and
Where we-
you know, I get plugged in here in 2019.
Yeah.
In my mind, it's always been like this.
No.
You know.
I think it's good to know where we came from.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's something that
Important.
you know, living here, that I appreciate, is to learn the history and really know what you're around if you want to live here forever and call this place home.
Yeah.
First responders. A lot of people said they were worried we don't have enough law enforcement and first responder presence. They believe it's linked to pay. What are your thoughts on the current state of our first responders, and do we need improvement in those areas?
I mean, I would love to see our law enforcement, our Bluffton Police Department, to increase it, to build it up. I know there are a few spots filled right now. It does sound like pay and being able to afford to live here are why maybe those spots haven't been filled. And so I think that needs to be evaluated and really looked at, absolutely. As far as fire and EMS, that's all done through the county, so that's
Yeah.
not something at a town level that we can affect, but we can with our police department, and I think that's important, and we should really look at it.
Okay, I agree with that. Schools, I think that's the hottest topic because everybody cares about the kids, right? Schools are maxed out. A lot of teachers are not chomping at the bit to come to work at the schools based off of the disparity of student volume to teachers and the pay. We clearly need help in this area. What do you think the answer is in getting the balance of the schools and the districts and the right teachers and the supporting staff associated with the schools, you know, and getting it done quickly? Is it possible?
You know what, this is another tough one. All the issues you bring up are, without a doubt, what I also hear the most, but also I think the hardest to solve. The school, you know, is, again, the town does not have a direct effect on it, on the teachers, on hiring. That's all done through the school board at a county level. I think the town, again, can work with them and have good relationships. But I also think, just as it is with the police department, I think at a national level, we're seeing that with teachers for for a lot of different reasons. But I do hear, you know, that it's a little bit, our town, not, you know, it's hard for teachers to live here. And so I think, again, going back to having some workforce housing for them would help with that. But I think that's as far as the schools being packed. I know that the school district is looking at building more schools. I think that's important. I think the town is looking to partner with them with some of this, with some land, which I also think is important. And so for the town to assist however they can will be important. We absolutely need more schools.
I agree. You know, we spoke about donut holes. It's a unique issue. And if you don't know what a donut hole is and it's the first time you're watching, there's different parts of Bluffton that actually have little county sections in them. Their county jurisdiction, right? Do you feel like the donut holes, eliminating those would help one way or another?
I mean, I think eliminating the donut holes would make it a little less confusing for people as to if I think everybody thinks that if you have Bluffton and your address, you live in the town, and that's definitely not the case.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't live in the actual town, you're not paying taxes, town taxes, which goes to, you know, capital improvement projects, general funds, you know, some of the parks that the town is doing. But in South Carolina, the residents or the neighborhoods have to approach the towns about being annexed in, and not vice versa. So the town cannot actually go and make a neighborhood or a person be annexed into town. They have to want to. So I would be all about listening if anybody wanted to be annexed in, absolutely, especially within the donut holes. But I'm not sure that a lot of them really want to, if I'm being completely honest.
That's fair. That's fair. It was something that came up.
Yeah.
And, you know, I look at it this way, and this is just my input, is you're living in the donut hole, you're using all of Bluffton's everything else people are paying taxes for. You're not, which I don't think that's not fair, but at the same time, you also don't get to vote on anything. So it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
That's just weird.
And even in this last town election, I know some people that probably would have run for office had they lived in the town, but they don't.
Yeah.
And so I think anybody that wants to be annexed in absolutely should look at that and request it.
Agreed. Drugs was another topic that came up, and specifically, everything seems to be getting laced with fentanyl. It's a big issue, both locally and nationally. I personally believe it's a weapon being used against our country as a whole. Born and raised local woman spoke up in one of the groups who was a drug user. She's nearly a decade clean, and when we first started doing these interviews, Mr. Dan Wood had reached out to her. Her social presence has absolutely blown up, not because of these interviews, just because of her efforts and everything she's doing. But I really have to take this time to commend Dan, because he connected her with the right people. She got a bunch of Narcan to distribute.
It's amazing.
It's incredible.
It is. It really is amazing. What her speaking up, like, I applaud her for that. I know that could not have been easy, but our testimonies, like, most of us have a story, but some people don't want to tell it. And so for her to speak up on something that is that difficult and look at the difference that she already made that quickly. And I think that is truly amazing. But also, if not for you doing these interviews, that might not have happened. So
that's true.
Kudos to you as well.
Thank you,
for bringing it up.
I appreciate that.
But it sounds like Dan has connected her with the chief, and it sounds like there is something, they're working on it. And I think that's so important. If y'all see issues, please bring it up, because, if we don't have the answer, and I say we, hoping that I do get elected, but connecting y'all with people who can figure this out. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And it's just speak up.
It is.
Because sometimes things can get fixed so quick if we know that it's an issue.
Absolutely. But I agree with you. And I think, look, I keep speaking about the next generation of Bluffton residents. Our kids, like, we need to figure this out for them. We do not want the kids to get wrapped up in it. And so I'm thankful that it sounds like the right people got connected through the interviews.
I was very thankful as well. It's super cool.
Yeah.
And I'm going to quote her here. She said, "It's really hard for someone to get in the doors of detox and treatment here in the Low Country without driving 2+ hours. And the issue is not slowing down." She says the coroner's office has seen a massive spike since June. I will paraphrase for her on this question. How can you help gap the road to recovery of drug addiction and alcohol, offer more Narcan training, help bring resources to light that people don't even know exist, and help the community become more aware of the positive outcomes that come from helping folks that want to change and have changed?
I mean, I think, first of all, it starts with speaking up and recognizing that there's a problem, and then connecting the people that can make some changes. So getting the police chief in on this is going to be big. But I think we need to really look at this hard as a town, as a community, and see what the town can do to help.
For sure. I totally agree. Spending. I feel like spending could be a 2-hour video for each candidate. It's pretty complex. If we really to simplify it, where do you feel, I said 3 to a lot of folks in their interviews. I'm going to just stick with 1, right? Where do you feel the most important area of spending we can increase or decrease is?
So spending is one that I probably, I have a economics background. That was my major, was economics. I'm a numbers person. I worked in finance and banking before starting my small business almost 16 years ago. So the numbers part of it, like, and working with it, kind of excites me. I like to see, and I think it's very smart for our town leaders to be fiscally responsible and smart with how we're spending taxpayers' dollars. So if you look at what's the top expenditures now, it's capital improvement projects and just the general fund, which kind of, payroll, personnel, and a lot of things fall under that general fund. For me, and you really have to dive in, because sometimes until you really start working with it, like, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And so getting in the middle of it and working with it, really diving in with Chris, who is our assistant town manager, who does the finances, I think is going to be key with this. But I would love to see our money being spent towards some of the issues that we talked about. I would love more green space, which could help with some of the growth issues, and just kind of having, more trees and things like that. I would love to see more go towards helping with whatever infrastructure we can to help solve some of those issues. But I look forward to, so those would be, green space, and I think the capital improvement projects, I mean, I think what the town has done with some of these parks and all throughout the different areas of the town has been great. They just approved the purchase of a property on the corner of Buck Island and Bluffton Parkway, which they're going to do another park, which I could not be more excited about, because I think that kids on Buck Island, Simmonsville, need a park that they can walk to and go play after school, I think.
Yeah.
And so continuing down that road also, I think, is very important.
Cool. I appreciate that. All right, so I've asked you the majority of the questions that the folks have asked. Do you have a platform you're running on? Is there anything? It seems like there is a common thread of the kids. Being a mother of 4, it makes sense, but also caring about the town and the community as well. Is there anything else that we haven't spoke about that you really want to communicate to everybody?
You know, I'm running for town council because I love our town. I care about this town and the community, the future of it. This isn't, I don't have an agenda. This isn't a stepping stone for me. I'm truly doing this. My only goal is to leave Bluffton better for the next generation. I care about managing our growth and development. I care about our quality of life, traffic, protecting the river, affordable housing, workforce housing, our parks, increasing our police department, and just fiscal responsibility. Like I said, just being smart with how we're spending our tax dollars. But I would just encourage everybody, you know, this is a special election. A lot of times you get very low turnout. And even in November, we had, you know, right around 10% of people actually come out and vote. And that was there were 4 things on the ballot then. And I would encourage people, get out there and vote. You know, so much of our day-to-day life is affected by the decisions made by leaders at the local level. So I just encouraging everybody, do your homework, go on, Google us, the 2 candidates, and really just get out there and vote.
Yeah, absolutely. Miss Emily Burden.
Thank
You, ma'am. Now let's go get warm.
I know.
It's freezing. Thank you so much for joining us. Special edition of a special election of the Bluffton Buzz and the Town of Council here in Bluffton, South Carolina. Make sure you get out and vote. When is voting day?
Oh, February 13th. Good question.
Yeah.
February 13th, and right now it's at the Bluffton Rec Center, which is on Ulmer Road downtown. Early voting starts January 29th, and at the moment that's supposed to be at St. Gregory between 8:30 and 5. But if that changes,
Perfect.
It'll be posted on the internet. You can find out.
Thank you for having those answers, because as a poor host, I did not.
I got you.
That worked out
I got
perfect.
you.
Thank you so much. Talk soon. I'll see you again.